You are listening to the ReRACEables podcast. Hello and welcome back to the ReRACEables podcast. I'm your host, Tom, joined tonight with my wife, Nicole.
Hello.
And we have just finished watching season 34 of The Amazing Race, episode 1. So let's jump right into it. The obvious big thing that stands out above all else is the new rules that Phil lays out at the start line. Yeah, it's nice to get to know everybody, the new teams and so on, but it gets really crazy when he drops the whole idea of the scramble.
Hate it. First of all, it's a type of egg. It's not a road sign or road marking, as would follow suit with the rest of the Amazing Race.
Yeah, I was thinking more traffic jam.
Right.
Something like that.
Roundabout.
Yeah.
I hate that they mixed up the whole show. I want to know who's in first, who's in last, who's gotta make up for lost time, who's gotta, I don't like having it all mixed up. I don't like the split screen shot. Hate that. It's too mishmash.
So the good things on the other side are pretty obvious. Number one, the drama of it, right? At any given point, we didn't know who was in really what place, except for the little graphic that had the check marks of who completed what. Mm-hmm. And the other checkpoint check-in they had where these groups have done 2 challenges and these have only done 1. And then when Derek and Claire figured out the final one, we knew they were in first place. Overall, I liked it. I thought that the drama of it was good. I liked the fact that it took place in one city. So it lent itself to this new idea, this fresh take on a first leg of the race, that we're in one city, it's driving, it's navigating, it's you picking your own choices of which one you want to go do first, which challenge you want to do second, which one you want to do third. And we saw a lot of different strategies come into play. And I thought that was really good.
Did you hear? I forget which team it was, but they had said when they were planning out the order, they were going to do like the closest one, then the farthest one, then back to this one. And they said because the pit stop is probably at the park. And they made sure to put their last one near the park. They got lucky that it was there. I'm assuming that was the park that they were talking about.
Yeah, the 2 teams that did that were Asta and Nina, who we'll talk about later. Spoiler alert. But the other one was Emily and Molly, right? They were the first ones that figured out where the pit stop was most likely going to be. And then they planned their course of action and the choices they made around ending up closer, which is really smart. And that's an awesome new wrinkle that makes the scramble something that I really liked. Derek and Claire also did the same thing of planning the course of action as well. Mm-hmm. Marcus and Michael were stationed in Germany, so they kind of got out in the car and ran ahead, and they kind of had an idea of where they were going. Some teams just wanted to gather all the information. Aubrey and David did that as well. It was cool to see a lot of different strategies come into play and really throw everybody on their ass and not being able to have something that they knew was coming at them and hit them with a total surprise. So I would give the scramble an A. I really liked it. I think it really worked.
A?
Yeah, it was great. I think it was really great. It's the first leg, right? There's every team is in it. You don't gain anything really other than changing the scenery, which is always great, by getting on planes and going to different places and having kind of the all aboard, catch everybody up challenges. By doing it this way, it's one city, navigation is key, and you get to choose. And the choice is yours, and you have to rely on those foundational travel navigation skills. And I really thought that was great. So there were 3 challenges that you had to complete on the scramble. You could do them in any order you want. And they were roll, saw, and smash. You had to complete all 3 before you can go to the pit stop. And at each one of these challenges, you got a different piece of a clue that was a puzzle that would tell you where the pit stop was. So the roll challenge was you had to roll a beer keg through an obstacle course and back in 55 seconds. The saw was sawing through a log with a giant saw. It looked like a tree. And then smashing through ice to reveal the last clue. Which one did you think was the easiest? Which one do you think was the hardest? Were they all kind of the same? What were your thoughts on that?
I think Smash was the easiest because you just have to hack away. Nobody seemed to have trouble doing it. They just went ham on it, which was pretty entertaining. Some people really just went berserko.
Lewis was crazy. I thought he was going to break his hand.
Yeah.
Like he could have easily just like slipped, broke his hand, or did, but he didn't. Athlete. Way to go, Lewis. That was awesome. It definitely was the most fun one to do also.
Yeah.
And I think considering that was a roadblock, only one person got to do it, who would have done that between us?
You.
Yeah, I would have definitely. I think we could have figured out that it was Smash and that requires power and tools.
Yeah.
I think that's why we saw a lot of the men do it. We saw Quentin doing it. We saw Marcus, the bigger of the two brothers, doing it. We saw Tim, the more muscular out of the T-Rex team. Derek did it. Linton did it. David did it. It was kind of a male-driven, let it all come out into that tool and that hammer to break open that ice. It seemed like a lot of fun. Which one do you think was the next easiest, the saw or the roll?
I'm gonna say the saw. Actually, you know what? I'm torn.
I would say it's the saw. It's one thing. It's back, forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, but the roll, there were multiple teams that had to do it 2 times.
Or more.
Yeah. So, like, people did have a hard time with that. But people also had a hard time with saw. If they couldn't get in a good rhythm, or if their strides were too long or ineffective, or people struggled with both. So I think they were kind of tied.
Okay. I think saw was probably easier just because you have the expert there who's singing and helping you with the sawing motion, and he was doing his whole thing and really stealing the camera show. But I think you can get into the rhythm. Generally, you know what a saw is. There's an easy way to kind of figure it out. And once you get going, it's eventually there's a beginning, middle, and an end. To me, I think roll was the hardest because it's timed. And if you don't do it the first time, you're that much more tired for the second or the third or the fourth or the 10th try. Who knows how long it took some of these teams. And I mean, they were a little lenient on roll, I thought. Maybe a little too lenient on allowing people. Right? It seemed like
they could
2,
roll
1, 0.
As long as their barrel rolled over the finish line before time went out. But they themselves didn't have to cross the finish line. I don't know if that's in the official Amazing Race rules of this leg, but that's what they were allowing.
The German referee or whoever was at the roll was very generous. I don't know if that gets that flies in the United States the same way.
Probably not.
And how about the people cheering people on at the roll? The random 7 or 8 people.
I liked it. I made note of like, oh, that's nice that they just have this random group of Germans cheering.
It's always funny to see those extra people that play a minor role in the Amazing Race, and just thinking about the conversations that they must have had to hire extras or beer keg rolling cheerleaders, essentially.
Yeah, how was your day? Oh, well, I was an extra in Amazing Race beer keg rolling.
Yeah, totally ridiculous. Fun challenges. I think it was meant to be quick. I think this was not supposed to be some all-day, 10-hour leg of the race. I think this was specifically designed to be, here's the 3 things. The big wrinkle is that you choose how you want to go about doing it. Your order, your choice. You got to do it in a shorter period of time. We're going to get this leg over with. Did you feel like it was kind of designed that way?
Well, it's also leg 1, and they have to get through introduction, how does the race work, and all of the business part of episode 1.
Yeah, there's a lot of housekeeping that you have to kind of do. And I thought that was good. I thought there was enough time spent in the beginning of the race and then during the race to get to know teams a little bit more. Again, our Power Rankings podcast, be sure to check that out if you haven't already. Like, subscribe. We got to know them only so much from a 1-minute Instagram video, but I feel like you got to know a little bit more about each of the 12 teams throughout this leg of the race. And I think that's one of the goals of the first episode. And so that work in conjunction with shortening the leg of the race, making it just in Munich, kind of similar to 33, where it was just in London in the first leg. I thought that was a good idea, and I bet that we'll see that a lot more now going forward in the future seasons. Do you think that this scramble is a first leg only thing? Do you think we could see that again?
Oh, I think it's an all season thing. That's what it seemed like. No?
It makes more sense, I feel, to me, in having more teams because it's less travel, it's less moving parts, I would feel. Having people all over the world, flights, boat reservations, all that kind of thing. They just had 12 rented cars and parking spaces in 3 areas and the one pit stop all in the same area. I think it really lends itself a little bit better to an opening round or two of the race.
The only thing with the scramble also is like, I liked how one clue led to the next place, led to the next place. And they never knew where they were going next.
Well, they had to make that decision and find it on the map.
But they were all within a certain radius, right?
Yeah.
Whereas previously, they get a clue, then they're off. They could hop on a plane. They could hop on a train. They don't know. This, they know all the spots ahead of time, and they plan it out.
Yeah, and in a future season, if this becomes the trend, people like us who are on The Amazing Race season 39, if they keep doing this, will be expecting it and know what to expect and work on our navigation skills within a city that much more and do crazy stuff like having basically a 3-leg scavenger hunt in New York City or something like that, where you have to navigate using a map to get to this place on the Upper East Side and then this place in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and then on this place out on Long Island, and that's where the pit stop is, somewhere out there. But hey, if we get to that point, then it's working, and I think it's working. I really like the scramble. I'd like to see it again maybe next week and get this down to 10 teams before we start really doing some heavy traveling. Let's jump right into the results. Derek and Claire flex their reality TV muscle. They figure out that the Friedensdale or Angel or whatever that was called, I forget, I missed that. They figure out that the pit stop is where the Angel is, and they find the location of it, and they become team number 1. What were your thoughts on them becoming team number 1 in the first leg?
Yeah, I'm not shocked. I feel like we also didn't see a whole lot of what led them to get number 1. All of a sudden, they had 3 check marks. And did you feel that way?
It felt like the editing has to be drama producing, but also narrative telling.
Right.
They have to tell us that Derek and Claire.
The narrative.
Yeah.
Lacking narrative.
Well, that was what the images or the graphics on the screen of who completed 2, who was still on 1 was. That was enough to kind of give you a rough estimate.
Wasn't enough for me.
Yeah, but come on. Who's keeping track of all 12 teams?
Right, exactly. It's too much.
Yeah, but I think the scramble really played into that, and part of the fun of it is it's a scramble. Your brain is scrambled. The viewers' brains are scrambled. Your emotions are scrambled because you don't know what to expect, and it's all chaos. And good luck to whoever had to edit that all together. I can't even imagine what kind of a test that was, but nonetheless, Derek and Claire, the big brother relationship couple, wins. They win $2,500 each, which is nice. In second, we had Glenda and Lumumba. Third, we had Quentin and Maddie. Fourth, Linton and Sharik. Fifth, Emily and Molly. Sixth, Marcus and Michael. Despite the scare that we were kind of getting played out with them in the car, not being able to really navigate so well, they kind of got lost a little bit. Seventh, Tim and Rex. The old guys, they were very much in this.
I was impressed by them.
Yeah, me too. 8th, Abby and Will. 9th, Rich and Dom. 10th, Lewis and Michelle. And then by the skin of their teeth, Aubrey and David in 11th.
I was very disappointed in them. They were my number one.
Yeah, I had them.
They're still in it though.
Yeah, and what's the name of the game in the Amazing Race?
Don't come last.
Don't come in last, especially this season because there's no non-elimination legs. In last place, we have Asta and Nina. Why do they come in last, Nicole?
Oh, they just don't have it. That it factor, they don't have it. It's I'm calling it because it's hard to put your finger on it. What do you think?
They were the last to leave the starting line. They stood there, they were asking all questions of people to find out where everything was. Maybe too long.
Okay, so maybe too much research was done.
Yeah, it's like they're too smart and they're thinking too much about it.
Overthinking.
Yeah. Secondly, they're not athletic. And I know I was on the outs with athletic ability, but the roll challenge tested your athletic ability.
And so, actually, all three of these.
Yeah, but roll most of all.
Yes.
And I think that they were exposed. Asta and Nina are not athletes.
No.
Not even close. Meditating is amazing, and Asta somehow does that for 2 hours a day for 10 years, I think we learned, but that ain't helping you on an Amazing Race where you gotta move.
Right. Perhaps if one of the challenges was an attention to detail type challenge, they would not have come in last, but that was not the case.
Right, like last season's first leg.
Right.
With the puzzle pieces that Mike and Mo screwed up. Yeah, no puzzle aspect. This was all Oktoberfest. I guess there really isn't many puzzles in Oktoberfest. There's beer and kegs and saws and smashing ice and that kind of play, which I don't know that Asta and Nina have been to too many Oktoberfest celebrations. Probably not, yeah. So they're out. That means that we got to change our power rankings, which we'll update each week and with each podcast as we go along through season 34. But we'll end on this. Anything that we learned or any major takeaways?
I think this will be a very different season. Survivor season 41, they really tried to shake things up. I think the same is going for Amazing Race.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. And I think the scramble was a great step in that direction. I think a couple things I learned. Number one, Rich and Dom are over the top. You're sawing a log together. It sounded like they were walking each other off of a ledge at times, right?
It was ridiculous.
It was so much.
After watching them, I regret not sticking with my initial gut instinct of putting them very low in my power rankings.
Yeah, and again, you look for little clues to maybe tip you off of who's in last place. And Rich and Dom she's sobbing, talking about one aspect of the race. And this is the first leg. Like, it's a little bit early to start sobbing.
They needed it to be hard to get better.
And that's great. And I love the inspiration. And they're great at what they do. And again, I don't know that you can just put back to back to back to back to back, struggle and keep that energy high and positive when you're Rich and you're uncoordinated. You couldn't roll the keg, or you're just sawing a log and you're burnt out and you're sobbing over that. I don't know. If they hit a little adversity, more than just that, it might be an early exit that round for them. Other things that I took away from it, I think the first leg is just about survival. It's so unpredictable, especially now that if you were first through 11th, you breathe a breath of fresh air and you move on and you feel good about it. And last thing, a couple teams that I was more impressed by than I expected. Glenda and Lumumba with a second place finish. Emily and Molly just kind of methodically plotting through each and every part of the tasks that were at hand. And Tim and Rex.
50 pounds down in preparation for this race.
Yeah, I mean, that's game planning, and that's what he does. He's a strategy guy. He was a head football coach, and I don't think he could face his players, or former players rather, ever again if he would have been out of shape on television, carrying extra weight when his whole career as a coach was yelling at players or getting on players or motivating players to lose weight, to get in shape, to compete. So, hats off to you, T Rex. I thought you guys did a hell of a job for the first leg. You impressed me, you impressed Nicole. And I look forward to hopefully having them around for a little while.
And on the podcast.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be really. I had Gary Barnage from season 32. I hope I can get another football guy on here. That would be great, Rex. So hopefully that we can make that happen. But that's it. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Nicole. Be sure to follow us all season long. We'll be uploading podcasts after each episode and getting them out as soon as possible. We will be posting on social media, so make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search Tribal Council Blog. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Find us everywhere. Be sure to give us a follow and help out, like out, comment, and out, share the rest. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you next week for episode 2. The Blog is Spoken.